everything. Waking up every morning with absolute clarity, no hesitation, no doubt, just a deep knowing that you're becoming the best version of yourself, everything. Your goals don't feel like distant dreams anymore, they feel inevitable. Every setback becomes fuel, every challenge a lesson, and every moment an opportunity to grow stronger, everything. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the power of a transformed mindset. Because the truth is, your outer world will always reflect your inner world. Change your thoughts, everything, and your life begins to rearrange itself around your new beliefs. This audiobook is your guide to that transformation, a journey from limitation to liberation. Everything from confusion to confidence, from potential to purpose, everything. There's a moment in every person's life when they realize that the problem isn't the world around them. It's the lens through which they see it, everything. It's a quiet but profound realization, like suddenly discovering that the glasses you've been wearing were tinted the whole time. You take them off, everything, and the world doesn't change, you do. Colors are brighter, details come alive. Possibilities that were once hidden start to reveal themselves, everything. That's what happens when your mindset shifts. For most people, life feels like a constant reaction. Something happens, you respond. Someone says something, you take it personally, everything. You chase goals, but half the time you're not sure why. You push yourself harder, thinking effort alone will change everything. But no matter how much you do, everything. It feels like you're running on a treadmill, moving fast, but not getting anywhere new. That's because true transformation doesn't begin with doing more, everything. It begins with thinking differently. Your mindset isn't just a part of you, it creates you. It's the architect designing every thought, emotion, and action you take, everything. Think of your mindset as the operating system of your life. Just like a phone or computer, your mind runs on programs, beliefs, assumptions, and emotional patterns, everything. Some of them are empowering, while others quietly limit you. If you've ever wondered why you keep facing the same struggles, even when you try to change everything, it's because the program hasn't been updated. You're trying to install new goals on an outdated system. The secret to transformation is realizing that before you can change what you do, everything, you must first change how you think about yourself and your world. Let's pause and really feel that, because this isn't about forced positivity or pretending that everything's fine, everything. This is about awareness, understanding that your thoughts are not harmless background noise. They are instructions to your subconscious mind, shaping your reality moment by moment, everything. When you tell yourself you're not capable, your brain starts scanning for evidence to prove that's true. When you say you're lucky, confident, or unstoppable, everything, your brain begins to build evidence for that instead. Your mind always seeks coherence. It wants your beliefs and your experiences to match. So if your inner story is filled with doubt, everything, your outer world will mirror that doubt back to you. Consider this simple example. Two people face the exact same setback. Let's say they both lose their job, everything. One person sees it as proof of failure. Their inner dialogue says, "I'm not good enough, I always mess things up." They spiral into frustration, maybe give up on trying for a while, everything. The other person with a different mindset feels the same shock, the same fear, but thinks, maybe this is a chance to do something better, something that fits me more. Same event, everything. Completely different outcomes. One leads to stagnation, the other to growth. What changed? Not the situation, only the mindset interpreting it. That's the shift that changes everything, everything. Realizing that you are never reacting to life itself, only to your perception of it. Once you understand that, you start to take back your power. Everything, you stop living by default and begin living by design. But this awareness doesn't happen overnight. For most of us, everything, our mindset has been shaped by years, sometimes decades, of programming. From childhood, we absorb beliefs from our parents, teachers, culture, and experiences. Everything. Maybe you grew up hearing, money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to be realistic, or people like us don't get those kinds of opportunities. These phrases might seem harmless, everything, but over time, they carve deep grooves in your subconscious. They become invisible limits, guiding your decisions without your awareness. Everything. The first step to transforming your mindset is to observe those hidden beliefs. Notice what you automatically tell yourself in moments of challenge. When something goes wrong, do you think, everything? Of course this would happen to me. Or do you think, all right, this is tough, but I can figure it out? That tiny difference in inner dialogue creates two completely different lives. Everything. Let's make this real. Imagine you want to start a business or change careers or get in shape. You set the goal, you start strong, and then obstacles appear. A deal falls through. Everything. You get rejected. You miss a workout. What happens next is where mindset separates the average from the exceptional. A fixed mindset says, see, everything I knew I couldn't do it. A growth mindset says, this is part of the process. Everything. Every expert started as a beginner. That second voice, the growth mindset, doesn't deny the struggle. It reframes it. It looks at failure as feedback, not a final verdict. Everything. This is the shift from seeing life as something that happens to you to something that happens for you. Suddenly, setbacks are teachers. Criticism becomes direction. Fear becomes fuel. Everything. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to show me? That single question can rewrite the entire narrative of your life. You see, everything. Your beliefs are like lenses through which you see the world. A negative lens makes everything look harder, darker, more distant. Everything. But when you start changing that lens, when you choose to believe that every challenge carries a lesson, that your potential is expandable, everything, that your effort compounds over time, your experience of life transforms even before anything external changes. The same day feels different. The same tasks feel lighter. Everything. The same problems start to look solvable. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending to be happy all the time. It means understanding that your focus is your power. Everything. Whatever you consistently focus on grows. If you focus on lack, you experience more lack. Focus on opportunity, and suddenly your mind starts noticing doors you never saw before. Everything. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. Your brain has a built-in filter called the reticular activating system, or RAS. Everything. Its job is to take the billions of bits of information around you and decide what to bring to your attention. And it bases that decision on what you believe and what you focus on. Everything. So when you repeatedly think, I can't, your RAS filters out possibilities. When you think, how can I? It starts scanning for answers. Everything. This is why mindset work isn't optional. It's foundational. You can set goals, create vision boards, repeat affirmations, everything. But if deep down your belief system doesn't support what you're saying, your mind will always pull you back to what it knows. Everything. Real change happens when your conscious goals and subconscious beliefs align. Start small. Catch your thoughts in real time. When you notice negativity creeping in, pause and ask, everything. Is this thought empowering me or limiting me? If it's limiting, reframe it. Everything. Instead of, I can't do this, try, I'm still learning how to do this. Instead of, nothing ever works out, try, things are starting to shift. Everything, even if I can't see it yet. These small language shifts may seem subtle, but they rewire your brain over time. You can't control every event in life, everything. But you can always control how you interpret it, and that interpretation determines your next move, your emotional energy, your decisions, your persistence. Every thought is a seed. Everything. If you plant seeds of doubt, you'll grow weeds of fear. But if you plant seeds of faith, growth, and possibility, everything, you'll cultivate a mindset that supports your goals instead of sabotaging them. There's a story of a man who spent years chasing success but never seemed to find it. Everything. He worked harder than anyone, stayed late, sacrificed sleep, and still felt stuck. One day, an older mentor told him, everything. You're working on the fruit when you should be working on the roots. The man didn't understand at first, but over time, everything. He'd realized what the mentor meant. He'd been trying to change results without changing the beliefs that produced them. Once he began to work on his inner world, his patience, everything, confidence, and focus, the outer results began to follow naturally. That's the truth. Most people miss. Your mindset is the root system of your life. Everything. You can trim the branches all you want, but unless you nurture the roots, nothing truly changes. So take a deep breath right now. Think about where you are and where you want to go. Everything. Understand that between those 2 points lies not just time and effort, but perspective. Everything. You don't need to become someone else to transform your life. You need to remember who you truly are beneath all the layers of doubt, fear, and conditioning. Everything. You need to return to the version of you that believed anything was possible before the world told you to play small. When you begin to shift your mindset, the world responds. Not instantly, everything, but gradually, beautifully, consistently. You start attracting people who match your energy. You start seeing opportunities that align with your purpose. Everything. You make decisions from a place of strength, not survival. And with every new realization, everything, you awaken more of your true potential, the part of you that's been waiting patiently for permission to lead. Because that's the secret. Your life isn't waiting to change everything. You are. The moment your mindset evolves, everything else starts to fall into place. Have you ever stopped to wonder how many of your limitations are real? Everything. And how many are simply stories you've been telling yourself for years? Most people live inside invisible cages, walls built not from concrete or steel, but from thoughts, fears, everything, and old experiences that whisper you can't. These walls don't make any sound, they don't announce themselves, and yet, they quietly shape every decision we make. The job we settle for, everything, the risks we don't take, the dreams we postpone, they all trace back to one thing: the beliefs we've accepted as truth. Imagine standing in a wide, open field. Everything. There's nothing holding you back, nothing in your way. You can walk in any direction, but if you close your eyes and believe there's a fence around you, you'll never move beyond it. Everything. That's what limiting beliefs do. They convince you that the boundaries in your mind are real. They tell you that comfort is safety, that failure is final, that you're not talented. Everything. Not ready, not enough. And yet every single one of those beliefs was learned. Which means every single one of them can be unlearned. Think about your earliest experiences of self-doubt. Everything. Maybe a teacher once told you that you weren't good at math. Maybe someone you loved dismissed your ideas. Maybe you failed once, and instead of seeing it as feedback, everything, you quietly decided that failure defined you. These small moments, often forgotten by the conscious mind, sink deep into the subconscious. Everything. They form patterns, mental shortcuts your brain uses to protect you from pain. The problem is, those same patterns also protect you from growth. Everything. There's a story of an elephant used in old circuses. When it was young, it was tied to a small wooden stake. No matter how hard it pulled, it couldn't break free. Eventually, everything. The elephant stopped trying. Years later, that same grown elephant, now strong enough to uproot a tree, remained tied to the same small stake. It could have walked away at any moment. Everything. But it believed it couldn't. That's the power of a limiting belief. It doesn't need to be true. It only needs to feel true long enough for you to stop questioning it. Everything. And that's where transformation begins, not in adding more motivation, but in learning to question the voice that says you can't. Because once you see a belief clearly, everything, it loses its power over you. Let's make this personal. Take a moment and ask yourself, what is the story you've been living? Everything. Maybe it's, I'm too old to start over. Maybe it's, I'll never be successful because of where I come from. Maybe it's, I always mess things up. These phrases might sound harmless, everything, but each one acts like a small chain that keeps you anchored to your past. The first step is awareness, recognizing that these are not facts, they're interpretations. Everything. They're protective stories your mind created to make sense of disappointment or fear. Now imagine replacing those old lines with new ones. Everything. I'm not too old. I'm wiser and more focused now. My past isn't my prison, it's my preparation. I don't always mess things up. I'm learning faster every time I try. Do you feel how the energy shifts the moment you change the story? Everything. That's the essence of rewiring belief. It's not pretending that pain didn't happen. It's refusing to let it define who you are today. Everything. One of the most powerful exercises for breaking limiting beliefs is the truth audit. Take a pen and paper and write down a belief that's been holding you back. Something like, everything. I'm not confident enough to speak in public. Now, ask yourself 3 questions. First, is this absolutely true? You'll likely realize it's not. Maybe you've spoken up before. Everything. Even if it was just in small moments. Second, where did this belief come from? Maybe a time you stumbled over words or a memory of being laughed at. Third, everything. What would my life look like if I no longer believed this? Sit with that question. Feel it. Because that vision, the one that feels lighter, everything, freer, that's your mind showing you what's possible without the chain. Changing beliefs isn't about force. It's about evidence. Everything. Your subconscious learns through repetition and proof. Every time you act despite fear, you weaken the old belief that says you can't. Everything. Every time you step out of your comfort zone and survive, you prove to yourself that safety isn't found in staying still. It's found in trusting yourself. Everything. There's a reason so many people feel stuck even when they have the motivation to change. They try to build new habits on top of old beliefs. It's like planting seeds in cement. Everything. You can't build a new life until you loosen the foundation underneath. If you believe you're unworthy, no amount of goal setting will stick. If you believe success is for others, every opportunity will feel temporary. But once you challenge those foundations, once you replace "I can't" with "I can learn," the ground shifts beneath you. Suddenly, effort starts to work. Progress begins to compound. Consider the story of Sarah, a designer who spent years working in a job she hated. She told herself, "I'm not creative enough to go freelance." That belief kept her safe. It justified her comfort zone. But deep down, she knew it wasn't true. One day, she decided to test it. Instead of quitting outright, she took one small project on the side. The moment she did, her belief began to crack. The next client came through a referral, then another. A year later, she was running her own design studio. Her transformation didn't start when she found clients. It started the day she questioned her story. Limiting beliefs thrive in silence. The more you hide them, the more power they have. Speak them aloud, and they lose their grip. There's something profoundly healing about hearing your own voice reject an old lie. Try it. Say the thing that scares you, then immediately follow it with the truth you want to live by. "I'm not smart enough to start a business" becomes "I'm smart enough to learn what I need to know." "I always fail" becomes "Every failure is refining me." This isn't just positive thinking. It's cognitive rewiring. You're teaching your brain a new pattern, one built on possibility instead of protection. Of course, some beliefs run deep. They've been reinforced by years of repetition. By environments that didn't believe in you, by people who projected their own fears onto you. That's okay. Healing them takes time. Be patient, but be persistent. The moment you catch a limiting thought, pause and challenge it. Ask, "Who says this is true?" Often you'll realize that belief doesn't belong to you at all. It was inherited from parents, teachers, society. You've just been carrying it long enough to mistake it for your own voice. When you begin to release those borrowed beliefs, something beautiful happens. You start to meet your real self. Not the version shaped by expectations or fear, but the one who's been waiting underneath all along. That's the freedom people talk about when they say, mindset shift. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about shedding what you never were. And here's a truth worth remembering: your mind is a storyteller, not a historian. It doesn't report facts, it creates meaning. When you start writing better stories about yourself, your brain begins to look for evidence to support them. Tell yourself you're capable, and soon you'll start noticing moments that prove it. Tell yourself you're resilient, and you'll find yourself standing stronger through challenges. What you focus on expands, and your beliefs are the lens through which you focus your reality. So start small. Change one belief at a time. If you've believed for years that you're unlucky, replace it with, "I attract opportunities by being prepared." If you've believed you're unlovable, try learning to love myself first. Repeat it daily, not as blind optimism, but as a statement of intent. Over time, your mind adjusts. Like a muscle retrained after years of misuse, it remembers its strength. Every person who has ever achieved greatness began with a mental shift. They saw the same obstacles you see, but believed something different about them. They saw rejection as redirection, pain as a teacher, risk as growth. You have that same ability. It doesn't require special talent or perfect timing. It starts with one decision to stop accepting every thought as truth. When you finally break free from limiting beliefs, you don't just change your mindset, you change your energy, your behavior, your results. You walk differently. You speak with conviction. You stop asking for permission to exist fully. You realize that you were never waiting for the right moment. The right moment was waiting for you. That's the real liberation. The quiet confidence that comes when you know you are not your past, not your fear, not your old stories. You are the author of your mind, and every new belief you choose to write becomes a chapter in the life you've always wanted to live. Change doesn't happen in an instant. It's not a lightning strike of inspiration or a dramatic turning point that flips your life overnight. Real transformation, the kind that lasts, comes quietly. It happens in the moments when no one is watching, when motivation has faded, and you choose to act anyway. That's the power of consistent action. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things again and again until they become part of who you are. Think about it this way: your subconscious mind is like a field of fertile soil. Every action, everything, every choice, every repeated behavior is a seed. At first, nothing seems to grow. You water the soil day after day, wondering if anything is really happening. But beneath the surface, everything. Roots are forming. Slowly, the foundation strengthens. Then one day, you see the first sprout, a sign that persistence was never wasted. That's how habits form. Everything. That's how new identities are built, one consistent action at a time. We live in a world obsessed with instant results. Everyone wants quick transformations, overnight success, everything, dramatic before and after stories. But the truth is, the people who truly evolve don't do it fast. They do it faithfully. Everything. They repeat small disciplines every single day until those disciplines rewire their minds, reshape their behaviors, and ultimately redefine their lives. Science backs this up. Everything. Neuroscientists have found that every time you repeat an action or a thought, you strengthen the neural pathway associated with it. It's like carving a groove into your brain. Everything. The deeper the groove, the more automatic the behavior becomes. This is why consistency is so powerful. It takes something that once required effort and turns it into instinct. Everything. You no longer have to think about doing the right thing. You just do it. Imagine waking up every morning to go for a run. The first week, your mind fights it. You bargain with yourself. Everything. You say, just 5 more minutes. But the second week, something shifts. It's still uncomfortable, but you start to crave the clarity it gives you. By the third week, everything. You don't think about it. You just lace up your shoes. That's not willpower anymore. That's wiring. Consistency is how you speak to your subconscious mind. Everything. It doesn't understand declarations. It understands patterns. You can tell yourself you're confident, but if you repeatedly avoid challenges, your subconscious learns the opposite. Everything. You can say you're disciplined, but if you break your own promises daily, your mind records that as truth. The subconscious is always listening. Not to what you say, but to what you do. Everything, every action is an instruction. Everything. There's a story about a man named James Clear often tells in his work on habits. A man who decided to go to the gym every day, but only allowed himself to stay for 5 minutes. Everything. Just 5 minutes. He would walk in, lift a single weight, and walk out. People thought he was ridiculous. But what he was doing was genius. He wasn't trying to build muscle. Everything. He was building consistency. Once his brain accepted that going to the gym was just what he did, the habit took root. Months later, everything. He was training like an athlete, not because he forced himself to, but because the action had become automatic. The takeaway is simple: start small, stay steady. Everything. The subconscious doesn't respond to size. It responds to repetition. You don't have to take giant leaps. Everything. You just have to keep moving in the same direction long enough for your brain to believe you. So many people fail to transform because they chase intensity over consistency. Everything. They go all in for a week, burn out, then quit. The key isn't intensity, it's identity. You're not trying to do something new, you're trying to become someone new. Everything. That's a subtle but powerful difference. When you identify as the person who acts consistently, your actions naturally follow. You don't say, I'm trying to quit smoking. You say, everything. I'm not a smoker. You don't say, I'm trying to get healthy. You say, I'm someone who cares for my body. Language matters, but behavior proves it. Picture this: everything. Every time you choose a new behavior, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. One workout is a vote. One moment of patience when you'd normally snap is a vote. Everything. One act of courage when fear tells you to step back is a vote. Change isn't decided by a single choice. It's built from thousands of small votes that add up to a new identity. Everything. Let's make this practical. Think about one area in your life you've been trying to improve: your health, your focus, your finances, your confidence. Now, ask yourself, everything. What's one small, consistent action I could commit to every single day for the next 30 days? Maybe it's writing one paragraph if you're trying to become a writer. Everything. Maybe it's saving $5 if you're trying to build wealth. Maybe it's saying one kind thing to yourself in the mirror if you're trying to rebuild your self-esteem. Everything. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be consistent. Because consistency compounds. It's the most underestimated force in personal growth. Everything. One day of positive action feels insignificant. A week feels like a start. A month begins to shift things. But 6 months, a year, that's when the transformation becomes undeniable. everything. The same way compound interest grows wealth, compound consistency grows character. Think of athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs who reach world-class mastery. Everything. None of them rely on motivation alone, they rely on systems. Motivation is fleeting, systems are steady. When you have structure, everything. You don't need to feel inspired every day, you just need to show up. Showing up builds momentum, and momentum creates results. Everything. There's a simple but powerful rhythm that high performers follow: intention, action, reflection. They set clear intentions, what they want to improve. They take action, daily, small, everything. Specific. And then they reflect, what worked, what didn't, what they'll adjust tomorrow. That rhythm rewires the brain because it keeps progress conscious. Everything. You're teaching your mind that growth is a process, not a one-time event. If you've ever tried to change and felt stuck, everything. It's not because you lack discipline, it's because your system was too complex. The subconscious mind resists drastic changes because it's wired for safety. Everything. But it will embrace gradual evolution. Start with one small habit that aligns with your higher self and repeat it until it feels effortless. Then stack another. Over time, everything. These habits build on each other like bricks, forming a wall of stability and strength. Here's something profound: your brain actually rewards you for consistency. Everything. Each time you follow through on a commitment, even a small one, your brain releases dopamine, not just the pleasure chemical, but the motivation molecule. Everything. It creates a feedback loop that reinforces your new behavior. The more you follow through, the more you want to follow through. That's how consistency turns into momentum. Everything. And momentum turns into mastery. And yes, there will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when your mind tells you it's pointless, when progress feels invisible. Everything. Those are the days that matter most. Because when you act in alignment with your goals despite resistance, you send the most powerful message to your subconscious. Everything. I am in control. That's when you stop being a prisoner of your emotions and start becoming the architect of your actions. Remember, everything. Consistency isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Missing one day doesn't erase your progress. It's what you do next that counts. Everything. Too many people let a small slip turn into a full stop. The truth is, the faster you return to your routine after a setback, the stronger the habit becomes. Everything. You're teaching your brain resilience, not rigidity. So instead of asking, how fast can I change? Start asking, everything. How long can I stay consistent? Because that's where real transformation lives, not in grand gestures, but in quiet discipline. The moments when you could give up, but don't. Everything. The times when you keep showing up, even when no one's watching. Those are the invisible victories that shape the person you become. Every small action is a brick. Everything. Every day you stay consistent, you're building something far greater than a habit. You're building a foundation strong enough to carry your dreams. Over time, everything. Your subconscious learns a new story that you are capable, disciplined, and unstoppable. And once your subconscious believes that, everything in your external world begins to reflect it. Everything. Because in the end, consistency isn't just about what you do. It's about who you decide to be every single day. Life will always test you. It won't ask if you're ready. Everything. And it won't wait until you've caught your breath. It will throw surprises, heartbreaks, failures, and moments that seem unfair. Everything. Yet within every one of those experiences lies an invisible opportunity, a chance to rise higher than before. That's where emotional resilience begins. Not in avoiding the storm, everything, but in learning to stand calmly within it. Think of emotional resilience as the anchor of the mind. It doesn't mean you never feel pain, anger, or fear. Everything. It means you've built the inner strength to move through them without losing yourself. It's the art of staying centered when everything around you feels uncertain. Everything. Most people think strength comes from control, from holding on tight. But true strength often comes from the opposite: the ability to let go, to breathe, to accept what is. Everything. And still choose your response consciously. There's a story about a young athlete who trained relentlessly for years to qualify for the Olympics. Every morning before sunrise, he ran sprints on the track while the city slept. He had one vision in mind: standing on that podium, hearing his country's anthem play. But months before the trials, an accident shattered his leg in multiple places. The dream he had built for years vanished overnight. He was devastated, and for weeks he refused to see anyone. But one morning, his coach visited him and said something that changed everything. This may have ended your season, but it doesn't have to end your purpose. Those words flipped a switch. Everything. The athlete started using his recovery to learn, to grow, to mentor younger runners. In time, he healed, not just physically, but mentally stronger than before. Years later, everything. He returned to the track and finally earned that medal. That story isn't about luck or talent. It's about resilience, the willingness to face pain, disappointment, and uncertainty, everything, and still move forward with purpose. You see, resilience isn't built when life is easy. It's built in those moments when you have every reason to give up, but you choose not to. Everything. It's in the quiet decision to keep going even when no one's watching. Everything. Every one of us has experienced moments that felt like breaking points. The end of a relationship we thought would last forever, the loss of a job we depended on, everything. The betrayal of someone we trusted. In those moments, the mind tends to spiral. We replay what happened, question our worth, and build stories around the pain. Everything. But resilience begins the moment you realize I can't control what happened, but I can control what it means to me. That shift, from victimhood to authorship, is everything. Everything. Resilient people don't deny their emotions, they honor them. They allow themselves to feel disappointment, anger, or grief, but they don't camp there. They process, learn, and adapt. Everything. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this trying to teach me? That one question changes the entire emotional landscape. Everything. The human brain is wired for survival. When faced with difficulty, it automatically searches for danger, emotional or physical, and prepares to react. Everything. This instinct helped our ancestors stay alive, but in modern life, it can trap us in cycles of stress and overreaction. Emotional resilience is the ability to pause before reacting. Everything. To breathe before speaking, and to choose your perspective instead of letting fear or frustration dictate it. Think of a time when someone said something that instantly triggered you. Everything. Maybe it was a comment from a colleague, a disagreement with a friend, or even a post online. The immediate urge is to defend, attack, or withdraw. Everything. But resilience allows you to slow that moment down, to see the emotion without becoming it. You recognize, I'm feeling anger right now. Instead of saying, everything, I am angry. That tiny shift in language rewires the brain. It reminds you that emotions are experiences, not identities. You can observe them, understand them, everything, and let them pass through you like waves without being swept away. Building that kind of inner strength takes practice. One simple technique is the pause and breathe method. Everything. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, take 3 slow breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. During those breaths, silently say to yourself, I am safe. Everything. I can handle this. It might sound small, but physiologically, it resets your nervous system. It moves you from a reactive state to a reflective one. Over time, everything. This practice trains your brain to remain grounded in stressful situations. Another powerful way to strengthen resilience is through gratitude, not the superficial kind, but deep, everything, conscious gratitude. When you intentionally focus on what's still good, even in hard times, your mind learns to look for possibilities instead of problems. Everything. Imagine losing a business deal you worked months for. You could spiral into frustration, or you could ask, what did this teach me about preparation? About timing, everything, about trust. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it reframes it. It reminds you that even setbacks have value when seen through the right lens. Everything. Life is full of people who embody resilience. Single parents working tirelessly to give their children a better life. Entrepreneurs who fail multiple times before finding success. Everything. Individuals who face illness yet continue to radiate hope. What they all share is a deep sense of meaning. They know why they're doing what they're doing. Everything. Purpose is the fuel of resilience. When you have a reason to keep going, you can endure almost anything. If you've ever felt like life knocked you down harder than you could handle, everything. Remember, this resilience doesn't mean never falling. It means getting back up differently each time, wiser, calmer, more focused. Every challenge carries a hidden message. Everything. Maybe it's pushing you to develop patience. Maybe it's teaching you detachment. Maybe it's preparing you for something greater that you can't yet see. Everything. There's a story about a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors said, "That's terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." A few days later, everything. The horse returned with 3 wild horses. The neighbors said, "That's wonderful." The farmer again said, "Maybe." Later, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses, fell, everything, and broke his leg. The neighbors said, "That's awful." The farmer said, "Maybe." Weeks later, everything. Soldiers came through the village to draft young men for war. But his injured son was spared. The point is simple: we often judge events too quickly. Everything. What seems bad today might be the foundation for something beautiful tomorrow. Resilience is the wisdom to wait, to trust that time will reveal the meaning. In today's fast-paced world, everything. Resilience also means emotional boundaries. Knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You can't control how others act, but you can control what you allow to affect you. Everything. When someone criticizes you unfairly, you can either take it personally or see it as a reflection of their own state. When plans change, you can either panic or adapt. Everything. The difference lies in emotional mastery, the quiet confidence that you can handle whatever comes. One practical habit that nurtures resilience is journaling. Each night, everything. Take a few minutes to write about what challenged you that day and how you responded. Ask yourself, what emotion did I feel? What did I learn? Everything. How could I handle it better next time? Over time, this builds self-awareness. You begin to see patterns, the triggers that drain you, the thoughts that strengthen you. Everything. Awareness is power. You can't change what you don't notice. Meditation also helps train resilience. Sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, everything, and watching thoughts come and go teaches your brain that emotions are temporary. It's like mental weightlifting. Each time you bring your attention back to the present, everything, you're strengthening your ability to stay centered under pressure. You don't need an hour. Even 5 minutes a day can make a profound difference. Everything. And then there's compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. Many people are kind to everyone except the person they see in the mirror. They judge themselves harshly for mistakes. Everything. Comparing their journey to others. But resilience grows when you treat yourself with understanding. You can't heal in a mindset of shame. The more you learn to forgive yourself, everything, the faster you recover from setbacks. When you start living with emotional resilience, something shifts inside you. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. Everything. You begin to notice that peace isn't found in perfect circumstances. It's found in your ability to remain balanced when things are imperfect. Everything. The noise of the world doesn't disturb you the same way anymore. You walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You trust yourself. There will still be challenges. Everything. There always will be. But now, instead of fearing them, you see them as training, opportunities to refine your strength, deepen your patience, and expand your wisdom. Everything. Every experience becomes part of your evolution. And one day you'll look back on what once broke you and realize it built you instead. Everything. That's the quiet power of emotional resilience. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, unshakable, and deeply human. It's the strength that whispers in the middle of chaos. Everything. I can handle this, and the wisdom that knows. You always could. There comes a moment in every journey of transformation when you realize that all the lessons, all the insights, everything, and all the challenges have been leading you to one powerful truth. You are the architect of your own reality. It's not a poetic idea. It's not a motivational cliché. Everything. It's a fact of life. Every thought you've entertained, every belief you've accepted, everything. Every decision you've made has been laying bricks in the invisible structure that becomes your outer world. And once you truly grasp this, everything, life stops happening to you. It starts responding to you. Imagine standing in front of an unfinished building. The foundation is there. The structure is solid, but incomplete. Everything. You can see where the walls will rise, where the windows will open, where the light will pour in. That building is your life. Every choice you make is a design decision. Everything. Every belief you hold is part of the blueprint. Most people never stop to ask, who drew these plans? They live inside designs passed down from parents, teachers, everything, society, never realizing they can redesign everything from the inside out. To become the architect of your reality, you have to start thinking like one. Architects don't build blindly. Everything. They build with intention. They envision before they execute. They begin with a clear picture of what they want to create. And then they align every action, every material, everything, and every measurement to that vision. Your mindset works the same way. You must begin with a clear internal design. Who do you want to become? Everything. What kind of energy do you want to bring into the world? What kind of experiences do you want to attract? These aren't idle questions. They are the foundation of creation itself. Everything. Think about how often people say they want to change their lives. Yet they repeat the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same routines every day. Everything. They wish for new results while running on the same mental software. But here's the truth: your outer world can only evolve when your inner world does. Everything. Transformation isn't about rearranging the furniture of your life. It's about changing the design of the house itself. Picture someone like Maya. Everything. A woman who always felt she was stuck in mediocrity. Every time she tried to start something new, a business, a relationship, a goal, she sabotaged herself with quiet doubts. Everything. She'd say, "I've never been lucky," or "people like me don't get far." She didn't realize those were not harmless thoughts. They were architectural blueprints. Everything. And her life followed them perfectly. It wasn't until she caught herself mid-thought one day and said, "Wait, who decided that's true?" That everything shifted. Everything. That question cracked the concrete of her old foundation. From there, she started consciously rewriting the story. Everything. She replaced, "I'm unlucky," with, "I'm learning how to create my own opportunities." She stopped waiting for the world to approve her and began designing her days around growth, everything, gratitude, and movement. Slowly, her outer life began to rearrange itself to match the new blueprint inside. Within a year, everything. She wasn't just dreaming differently. She was living differently. That's what this chapter is about: aligning who you are with what you want to create. It begins with clarity. Everything. You can't build a masterpiece on confusion. So take a quiet moment and ask yourself, what does your ideal reality look like in detail? What does it feel like to live there? Everything. Don't just imagine surface-level success. Go deeper. How do you wake up? How do you speak to yourself? How do you handle pressure? Who are the people you allow into your space? Everything. Your mind will want to resist this kind of imagining because it's easier to stay within the limits of what you already know. But if you can't picture something different, everything, you can't build something different. Once the vision is clear, the next step is alignment. Alignment means your daily choices begin to mirror your desired outcome. Everything. If your dream is to live with confidence, but your self-talk is filled with doubt, the foundation is unstable. If you say you want peace, but your schedule is chaos, everything, you're building against your own design. So take responsibility for every decision, because each one is a brick in the structure of your reality. When you choose courage over fear, everything, discipline over distraction, purpose over convenience, you're constructing the version of yourself who can handle everything you desire. Everything. But let's be honest, this process isn't always easy. Growth demands discomfort. Just like an architect must sometimes tear down old walls before new ones can rise. Everything. You'll need to dismantle the beliefs that no longer serve you. Maybe it's the belief that you're too late, too flawed, or too ordinary. Everything. Maybe it's the quiet assumption that life happens outside your control. Whatever it is, it has to go. Because if the old blueprint stays, no matter how many new habits you stack on top, everything, the structure will keep collapsing under its own contradictions. Here's the secret: rebuilding your reality doesn't mean becoming someone else. Everything. It means becoming more you. The version of you that existed before fear and doubt took over. It's not about adding layers of perfection. Everything. It's about removing the limits that were never truly yours to begin with. Think of an artist carving a statue. Everything. They don't add the masterpiece. They reveal it by removing what doesn't belong. Your mindset works the same way. Everything. You can't become the architect of your reality without learning to master your emotional state. Because emotions are the raw materials of creation. They color your thoughts, your energy, everything, your actions. When you feel discouraged, your world looks small. When you feel inspired, it expands. You must learn to regulate your inner world, to pause when fear speaks. Everything. To breathe when frustration builds, to choose presence instead of panic. The more control you have over your inner atmosphere, the more deliberate your outer reality becomes. Everything. This is emotional mastery, and it's the secret skill of every true creator. One of the most powerful things you can do is create rituals that reinforce your identity. Every morning, everything, before the noise of the world begins, spend time aligning yourself with your vision. Visualize the day going exactly how you want. Everything. Feel the emotions of already living the life you're building. Then act accordingly. Not from who you were yesterday, but from who you're becoming. It may sound simple, everything, but repetition is what reprograms the mind. The more often you act like the person you want to be, the faster your subconscious accepts that as your new reality. Everything. Even when obstacles arise, and they will, remember that they're part of the construction process. No architect builds a perfect structure without revisions. Sometimes a wall cracks. Everything. A plan changes. A material fails. And that's okay. Every setback is feedback. Every failure reveals where the foundation needs strengthening. Everything. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't talent. It's how they interpret challenges. The ones who grow see each difficulty as data, not defeat. They ask, everything. What is this teaching me about my design? Over time, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Life starts to cooperate with you. The right people appear. Everything. The right opportunities find their way to you. You recognize synchronicities, those moments that feel like the universe nodding in your direction. It's not magic, it's alignment. Everything. You're sending out clear signals through your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and the world mirrors them back. You're no longer reacting to life, you're co-creating with it. Everything. There's a quiet power in reaching this stage, a sense of mastery that doesn't come from control, but from understanding. You stop needing to force outcomes. Everything. You start trusting the process. You realize that every season of your life has purpose, even the uncertain ones, because an architect doesn't panic when the sky is cloudy. Everything. They know the design still stands, and that's where true freedom begins. You no longer chase validation or fear rejection. You don't need to prove yourself. Everything. Because you're building from authenticity, not approval. You begin to live with intention, grace, and quiet confidence. Everything. You understand that you are not a victim of your past. You are the designer of your future. So as you move forward, remember this: every thought you think is a seed. Everything. Every belief a blueprint, every action a brick. You are constructing the reality you'll one day walk through. Make it beautiful. Make it strong. Make it yours. Everything. Because when you finally see yourself not as a passenger, but as the architect, that's when life begins to rise to meet your design.